The very act of naming the demon or identifying the offended god was a crucial step in the healing process. By giving a name to the unseen enemy, the Egyptians believed they gained power over it, making it vulnerable to spells and rituals. This act of identification provided a sense of control and understanding in a world often dominated by inexplicable suffering. In ancient Egypt, the human body was not seen as a mere collection of organs and tissues. It was a vessel, a temporary dwelling for the soul, and a battleground where divine and demonic forces constantly vied for control. Illness wasn't merely a physical ailment. It was often attributed to supernatural causes, the wrath of an offended deity, the curse of an enemy, the malevolent influence of a demon, or even the restless spirit of a deceased person. Imagine waking up with a headache, and your first thought isn't, "I didn't get enough sleep," but "which god did I upset?" It adds a whole new layer of existential dread to your morning. The role of the pharaoh, as the divine intermediary between gods and humans, was also significant in times of widespread disease. The pharaoh might perform rituals or issue decrees to appease angry deities and protect the populace from plagues. His divine authority was believed to extend to the realm of health, making him a central figure in the fight against widespread illness. You notice a local healer, perhaps a man with a shaven head and a serious demeanor, adorned with a simple linen kilt. People approach him with various complaints: a persistent cough, a festering wound, a fever that won't break. He doesn't pull out a stethoscope or ask for a blood sample. Instead, his eyes are keen, observing the patient's demeanor, listening to their story, and perhaps most importantly, discerning the unseen forces at play. For him, every symptom is a clue, a piece of a larger spiritual puzzle. You realize that for the ancient Egyptians, illness was never just a physical problem. It was a cosmic event, a disruption of the divine order, a battle fought on both the physical and spiritual planes. The gods and demons were not just abstract concepts. They were active participants in their lives, capable of both inflicting and curing disease. The core concept, a common historical fact, was that disease often originated from supernatural interference. The Egyptians believed in a vast pantheon of gods and goddesses, each with their own domains and powers. If you fell ill, it could be a punishment from a god you had angered, or the result of a curse placed upon you by an enemy. Conversely, benevolent deities could also be invoked to protect and heal. The world was alive with spiritual energy, and illness was a manifestation of a disruption in that sacred balance. It's like your body is a very sensitive antenna, and illness is just bad reception from the divine. As you step out of the dimly lit chamber, the images of gods and demons still vivid in your mind, you carry with you a profound understanding of why ancient Egyptians thought spells could heal you. For them, it was a logical and necessary response to a world alive with unseen forces. The invocation of benevolent deities and the fierce banishment of malevolent entities were not just beliefs. They were active, potent tools in their relentless pursuit of health and harmony. A testament to a worldview where the sacred and the mundane were inextricably linked, and where the gods and demons were the ultimate bringers and healers of disease. You might feel a sudden chill, a shiver running down your spine, even under the hot sun. This isn't just the weather, it's your body signaling an invasion. Perhaps a malevolent demon, a jinn or a akka, has entered your body, causing the pain. Or maybe a restless spirit of the dead, unable to find peace, is clinging to you, draining your vitality. The healer's task was to identify this unseen aggressor and then to expel it. Often through powerful words and sacred ritual, the vivid images of gods and demons still swirl in your mind, a testament to the ancient Egyptian belief that illness was a spiritual battle. You've seen how these powerful entities were believed to cause and cure disease, and how spells were wielded to influence them. Now, as your journey through the terrible cures continues, you are about to step into the heart of ancient Egyptian religious practice, to witness the elaborate rituals and solemn offerings that were considered essential for healing and for purification, and for supplication to the divine. This is the world where actions spoke louder than words, where every gesture was meaningful, and where the sacred rites were as vital as any medicine. The Egyptians had a complex understanding of the afterlife and the spirit world. The deceased, if not properly buried or remembered, could become malevolent spirits capable of causing harm to the living. This meant that proper funerary rituals and ongoing offerings were not just about respecting the dead. They were also a form of preventative medicine, ensuring that restless spirits stayed where they belonged. It's like a very elaborate, very ancient ghost insurance policy. You find yourself within the echoing halls of a grand temple, the air thick with the scent of burning incense and the murmur of priestly chants. Before you, a procession moves slowly, carrying offerings to a deity's shrine. The light filters through high windows, illuminating the intricate carvings on the walls, depicting gods receiving offerings and performing sacred acts. For the ancient Egyptians, the temple was not just a place of worship, it was a cosmic engine, a place where the divine order was constantly reaffirmed, and where humans could interact with the gods to seek their favor, especially in times of sickness. You might hear the healer explain to a patient that their persistent stomachache is due to a demon of the underworld that has entered their digestive tract. The cure wouldn't be a simple herbal remedy. It would be a complex combination of physical treatments, magical spells, and appeals to specific deities, all designed to drive out the unseen invader and restore the body to its rightful state of purity and health. It's a holistic approach, considering the entire person and their spiritual environment, not just the isolated symptom. A common historical fact is that rituals and offerings were central to ancient Egyptian religion and were deeply integrated into their healing practices. These acts were not merely symbolic. They were believed to be effective means of communicating with the gods, appeasing their wrath, invoking their benevolence, and driving out malevolent forces. Whether it was a simple offering of food or a complex purification ceremony, every ritual had a specific purpose in the pursuit of health and well-being. Imagine your doctor prescribing a specific dance routine to get rid of your headache. It certainly makes your physical therapy appointments more interesting. One particularly obscure detail from this period is the belief in worms as both physical parasites and as manifestations of demonic entities. Ancient Egyptians were aware of intestinal worms, and their medical texts describe remedies for them. However, sometimes the worms were also seen as literal demons that gnawed at the insides, causing pain and illness. This meant that a treatment for worms might involve not just a purgative herb, but also a spell to banish the demonic worm, blurring the lines between physical and spiritual medicine. Imagine taking a dewormer, but also having a priest chant over you to make sure the worm demon really leaves. You might observe a priest, his head shaven and body purified, standing before an altar laden with offerings, loaves of bread, jars of beer, baskets of fruit, and fragrant flowers. He recites prayers, invoking the name of a healing deity, perhaps Isis, the great magician and healer, or Ptah, the god of craftsmen and healing. The offerings were believed to sustain the gods, strengthening their power and encouraging them to look favorably upon the supplicant. It was a reciprocal relationship. Humans provided sustenance and reverence, and in return, the gods provided protection and healing. The diagnostic process was incredibly intricate, blending empirical observation with spiritual insight. The healer wouldn't just ask about your symptoms. They would observe your demeanor, your dreams, and any unusual occurrences around you. They would try to discern if the illness had a natural cause like an injury or bad food or a supernatural one. The distinction was crucial, as it dictated the course of treatment. One particularly obscure detail about Egyptian healing rituals is the practice of incubation, or dream incubation, within temple precincts. Patients suffering from chronic or mysterious illnesses would sleep in designated areas of a temple, often near the statue of a healing god like Imhotep or Serapis. The belief was that the god would appear to them in a dream, revealing the cause of their illness or the specific cure needed. Imagine going to the hospital and being told to just sleep there until the cure comes to you in a dream. It certainly saves on diagnostic tests. The healer might consult ancient medical papyri, vast collections of medical knowledge that contained descriptions of diseases, their symptoms, and both physical and magical remedies. These papyri, like the Ebers Papyrus or the Edwin Smith Papyrus, are a common historical fact, revealing a sophisticated understanding of anatomy, surgery, and pharmacology for their time. However, even within these seemingly scientific texts, spells and incantations were often interwoven with practical medical advice, highlighting the inseparable nature of medicine and magic. The ritual of purification was also paramount. Before approaching the gods or performing any healing act, both the priest-physician and the patient would undergo elaborate purification rites. This involved washing with sacred water, fumigating with incense, and sometimes even shaving the body to remove all impurities. The belief was that physical and spiritual purity was essential for effective communication with the divine and for expelling any unclean influences that might be causing illness. It's like a very intense pre-op scrub. But for your soul, you might feel the gentle touch of the healer as he examines a wound, his brow furrowed in concentration. He might clean it with honey, a natural antiseptic, and apply a poultice of herbs. But then he might also begin to murmur a spell, perhaps invoking the protection of Sekhmet, the goddess of healing and destruction, or Isis, the great magician. For the Egyptians, the physical treatment was often enhanced, or even made possible by the accompanying magical words. You might see the priest-physician carefully washing a patient's hands and feet with water from a sacred basin, murmuring incantations as he does so. The water, imbued with magical power through ritual, was believed to cleanse not just the body, but also the spirit, preparing the patient to receive divine healing. This ritual cleansing was considered a vital first step in any healing process, ensuring that the patient was ritually acceptable to the gods. The power of the spoken word was paramount. Spells were not just poetic verses. They were believed to be active forces, capable of influencing the divine and demonic realms. The correct pronunciation, the right intonation, and the appropriate gestures were all crucial for a spell to be effective. A misplaced word, a stutter, or a moment of doubt could render the magic inert, leaving the patient vulnerable. It's like a very ancient, very high-stakes game of Simon Says, but the stakes are your life. The academic debate still rages. Katsen hasu hak van tran kailu, katsen leva kung te trongi hak. Aikap ko jai, kotak su juakten la, ko tak dong chua ben, trok tep hai chung chu. You lamot hintuk tran, antamli vamot fan kwasugan ket kong jong. Did rituals and offerings in ancient Egyptian medicine truly possess direct healing efficacy? Or did they primarily serve as psychological reassurance and a component of community cohesion? The answer is nuanced, suggesting that while the psychological and social functions were significant, there was also a genuine belief in their direct magical and divine power. The academic debate still rages. Did ancient Egyptian physicians truly believe in the direct efficacy of spells and healing? Or were they primarily a form of psychological reassurance and ritual in a context of limited medical knowledge? The answer is complex, with evidence suggesting a genuine belief in the power of magic alongside practical medical skills. You might hear a spell being recited, perhaps for a snake bite. The words would invoke the power of a specific deity, perhaps Ra or Horus, to neutralize the venom and expel the evil. The spell might describe the snake as a manifestation of a demon, and the words would command it to leave the body, just as a powerful god would command a lesser being. The language was often vivid, evocative, and deeply symbolic, drawing on the rich tapestry of Egyptian mythology. The use of specific ritualistic objects was also common. A priest might wield a sistrum, a sacred rattle, whose sound was believed to ward off evil spirits and purify the air. Or he might use an ankh, the symbol of life, to direct healing energy towards the patient. These objects were not merely props. They were active participants in the ritual, imbued with their own magical properties. The healer might also use sympathetic magic. If a patient suffered from a fever, a spell might be recited over a bowl of cold water, which was then poured over the patient, transferring the coolness of the water to the feverish body. Or if a limb was broken, a spell might be recited over a model of a healthy limb, hoping to transfer its wholeness to the injured one. It was a belief in the interconnectedness of all things, where the symbolic could influence the real. You might hear a priest chanting a long, repetitive prayer, his voice rising and falling in a hypnotic rhythm. The repetition of sacred words, combined with the rhythmic movements and the burning incense, was designed to create a powerful atmosphere, a liminal space where the human and divine worlds could meet. This altered state of consciousness, for both the practitioner and the patient, was believed to facilitate healing and spiritual connection. It's like a very ancient, very spiritual sound bath. The role of dreams was also significant. Dreams were believed to be messages from the gods or visits from the spirits of the dead. If you had a disturbing dream about an illness, The healer might interpret it as a divine warning or demonic attack, guiding their treatment strategy. Dream interpretation was a vital part of the diagnostic and healing process. It's like your subconscious was also a very cryptic medical messenger. For specific ailments, particular rituals would be performed. For a snakebite, a priest might enact a ritual reenactment of the myth of Isis healing Horus from a scorpion sting, transferring the divine healing power to the patient. For a fever, a ritual involving cooling substances and spells to banish the heat demon might be performed. The rituals were often highly specialized, tailored to the specific nature of the illness and its perceived supernatural cause. You realize that for the ancient Egyptians, the world was alive with unseen forces, and illness was a constant reminder of humanity's vulnerability to these powers. Spells were not a last resort. They were an integral part of the healing process, a powerful tool to engage with the divine and demonic realms, to restore order to a chaotic body and spirit. The offerings themselves were varied, ranging from simple food and drink to more elaborate sacrifices, depending on the severity of the illness and the wealth of the patient. The most valuable offerings were often made to powerful healing deities, hoping to secure their immediate intervention. The act of giving, of sacrificing something valuable, was believed to demonstrate devotion and commitment, thereby earning divine favor. As you stand there, feeling the subtle ache in your stomach, you realize that in this world, healing is not just a scientific endeavor, it's a sacred act, a delicate dance between the physical and the spiritual, where the power of words, the invocation of gods, and the banishment of demons are as crucial as any herb or bandage. It makes you wonder if our modern approach, so focused on the tangible, sometimes misses the profound power of belief and the unseen forces that might still shape our well-being. You might observe a patient, after a long and arduous ritual, showing signs of profound relief. Even if the physical symptoms didn't immediately vanish, the psychological burden would have been immense. The feeling of having appeased an angry god, or having banished a malevolent demon, would have brought immense comfort and hope, undoubtedly contributing to their recovery. It's like finally getting that apology from someone who wronged you, and suddenly your headache disappears. The subtle ache in your stomach, a whisper of unseen forces, still reminds you of the profound connection between illness and the divine in ancient Egypt. You've glimpsed the fundamental belief that spells could heal, that gods and demons constantly influenced human health. Now you're about to step closer to the very heart of the system, to meet the figures who walked the delicate line between the earthly and the ethereal, the ones who were both physicians and priests, wielding both remedies and sacred words. The role of the community in these rituals was also significant. Family members and friends might participate in prayers, processions, and offerings, creating a collective act of supplication and support for the sick individual. Illness was not just a private matter, it was a community concern, and the rituals provided a communal framework for addressing it. You find yourself in a grand temple complex, the air cool and shadowed, filled with the faint scent of stale offerings and the echoing sounds of distant hymns. Here, amidst the towering columns and intricate hieroglyphs, you see figures moving with an air of profound authority. These are the Wab priests, the pure ones, who served the gods and also tended to the sick. For the ancient Egyptians, the healing arts were not separate from religious practice. They were an integral part of it, a sacred duty entrusted to those who could commune with the divine. The academic debate still rages. Kak nasu hok vantran kailio suputhuk, vau kak nangileva kung tekolam. Chamsu fatrinqua, ihok tuk nanghiem oai kap ko jai hei. Nochi jon tuan la mot kiakan bosang trong mot hetong itatuan dien. Did the reliance on rituals and offerings hinder the development of empirical medicine? Or was it simply a complementary aspect within a comprehensive healthcare system that recognized the spiritual dimension of health? The answer is nuanced, with some arguing that the focus on supernatural causes could sometimes divert attention from purely physical solutions, while others emphasize the holistic nature of their approach. Where magic and medicine were inseparable, a common historical fact is that in ancient Egypt, there was often no clear distinction between priests and physicians. Many healers were also priests, particularly those associated with specific deities like Sekhmet, goddess of healing and destruction, or Thoth, god of knowledge and magic. They believed that true healing required addressing not just the physical body, but also the spiritual imbalances or divine displeasure that caused illness. Imagine your doctor also being the person who conducts your religious ceremonies. It certainly streamlines your appointments. You might see a priest-physician using a specific ritual for opening the mouth of a patient who is unable to speak due to illness. Believing that this ritual, traditionally performed on mummies to allow them to speak and eat in the afterlife, could restore the patient's voice in this life. This highlights the fluidity of Egyptian thought, where funerary rituals could be adapted for healing the living. Blurring the lines between life and death, you might observe a priest-physician, his head shaven smooth, dressed in pristine white linen. He approaches a patient, perhaps a man suffering from a persistent fever. He doesn't just examine the man's body, his eyes also seem to gaze beyond, searching for the unseen forces at play. He might murmur prayers, invoke the names of healing deities, or perform small ritualistic gestures even as he palpates the patient's forehead or examines their tongue. For him, every ailment had a potential spiritual root, and every treatment needed divine sanction. The very architecture of the temples, with their sacred spaces, their depictions of divine acts, and their carefully orchestrated rituals, was designed to facilitate this interaction between humans and gods. The entire environment was a healing machine, constantly channeling divine energy and reinforcing the belief in the god's power to intervene in human affairs. Hey guys, tonight we're going to journey back, not just in time, but into the shimmering heat and profound mysteries of ancient Egypt. Imagine the golden dust motes dancing in the sunlight, filtering through a temple, the faint scent of myrrh and Nile mud, and the distant, rhythmic chant of a priest. You're there, a quiet observer, about to discover a truth so deeply intertwined with magic and the divine that it might just make you appreciate your modern antibiotics a little more. This isn't a simple history lesson, folks. This is the world where ancient Egyptians thought spells could heal you. And let's be honest, if you found yourself with a common cold back then, you probably wouldn't have survived the first week. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as always, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You realize that for the ancient Egyptians, healing was a profound act of engagement with the divine. It was a constant process of purification, supplication, and ritualistic action, all designed to restore harmony between the human body and the cosmic order. The terrible cures, in this context, were not just about physical remedies, they were about the sacred dance of ritual, the power of offerings, and the unwavering belief that the gods, if properly invoked, could indeed heal you. The temple itself often served as a healing center, a place where the sick could come to seek both medical and spiritual aid. Patients might sleep in the temple precincts, hoping for divine dreams that would reveal a cure, or participate in purification rituals. The sacred atmosphere, the presence of divine statues, and the constant prayers were all believed to contribute to the healing process. It was a holistic environment, where the physical body was treated within a deeply spiritual context. As you step out of the temple, the lingering scent of incense a final whisper, you carry with you a profound understanding of why ancient Egyptians thought spells could heal you. For them, it was a logical and necessary response to a world alive with unseen forces. The invocation of benevolent deities and the fierce banishment of malevolent entities were not just beliefs. They were active, potent tools in their relentless pursuit of health and harmony, a testament to a worldview where the sacred and the mundane were inextricably linked, and where the gods and demons were the ultimate bringers and healers of disease. You might see the priest-physician consulting ancient medical papyri, vast collections of knowledge preserved in temple libraries. These texts, like the Ebers Papyrus or the Edwin Smith Papyrus, are a common historical fact, revealing a sophisticated understanding of anatomy, surgery, and pharmacology for their time. They describe various diseases, their symptoms, and a wide array of remedies, including herbal concoctions, surgical procedures, and even dental treatments. However, crucially, these practical medical instructions were almost always accompanied by magical spells and incantations, highlighting the inseparable nature of medicine and magic. The lingering scent of incense from the temple still whispers of ancient rituals, a profound reminder of how deeply magic and religion were woven into the fabric of Egyptian healing. You've witnessed the elaborate ceremonies and solemn offerings, the priest-physicians acting as conduits between the human and divine. Now, as your journey through the terrible cures continues, you are about to enter the realm of dreams, a liminal space where the gods themselves were believed to communicate, offering guidance, revealing cures, and sometimes even directly intervening to heal the sick. This is the world where your slumber could be your most potent medicine, and a whispered vision from the night your clearest path to recovery. Imagine a section of a papyrus detailing how to treat a festering wound. It might describe cleaning the wound with honey and applying a poultice of specific herbs, followed immediately by a spell to banish the evil spirit causing the infection. The physical and the magical were two sides of the same coin, both considered essential for a complete cure. The honey might kill bacteria, but the spell would ensure the malevolent entity responsible for the bacteria was also expelled. It's like using both a fire extinguisher and a very polite, yet firm conversation with the fire demon. You find yourself in a quiet, secluded chamber, perhaps within a temple or a specialized healing sanctuary. The light is dim, and the air is cool, carrying a faint, sweet aroma, perhaps of lotus or poppy. A patient lies on a simple bed, their eyes closed, breathing softly. This is a place of incubation, a common historical fact, where individuals suffering from chronic or mysterious illnesses would come to sleep, hoping to receive a divine dream that would reveal the cause of their ailment or the specific cure needed. Imagine checking into a hospital, and the main treatment plan is just to get a really important night's sleep. It certainly makes your sleep hygiene routine feel a lot more critical. The academic debate still rages. Kachen ha su hok vantran kai lieu, baitro kep kwa tai tu isio. I kap ko jai ko kan tro su fat trien kwa I hok duatren koa hok, hai noti jon thuan la motsutik. Hop tun hien kwa kien thuk trong mot xahoi ton gyao sao sak. Did the dual role of priest-physicians hinder the development of a purely scientific medicine? Or was it simply a natural integration of knowledge within a deeply religious society, where the divine was seen as fundamental to all aspects of life, including health? The answer is complex, acknowledging both the limitations imposed by supernatural beliefs and the pragmatic effectiveness of some of their empirical treatments. The ancient Egyptians believed that dreams were not just random wanderings of the mind, they were direct messages from the gods, visits from ancestral spirits, or even glimpses into the future. For the sick, a dream could be a divine diagnosis, a prescription from the heavens, or a direct act of healing by a benevolent deity. The temple, as a sacred space, was considered an ideal conduit for these divine communications, a place where the veil between worlds was thin. The priest-physicians were also skilled in divination, using various methods to ascertain the divine or demonic cause of an illness. They might interpret dreams, consult oracles, or observe omens. This spiritual diagnosis was crucial, as it determined which deity needed to be appeased, which demon needed to be exorcised, or which curse needed to be broken. It's like your doctor not only gives you a prescription, but also tells you which god you accidentally offended last Tuesday. You might observe a priest-physician preparing the patient for incubation. He might perform purification rituals, washing the patient with sacred water and fumigating the room with incense to cleanse them of any impurities that might hinder divine communication. He might also recite prayers, invoking the name of a specific healing god, such as Imhotep, the deified architect and physician, Serapis, a Greco-Egyptian syncretic deity associated with healing, or Hathor, goddess of love, joy, and also healing. The goal was to create an environment conducive to divine visitation, to invite the gods into the patient's slumber. You might witness a patient confessing a sin or a transgression to the priest-physician, believing that their illness was a divine punishment. The priest-physician would then guide them through a process of repentance or ritual purification, hoping to restore their favor with the gods and thereby alleviate their suffering. The moral and ethical conduct of the patient was seen as directly linked to their physical well-being. One particularly obscure detail about dream incubation is the use of dream interpreters, or masters of secrets, who would assist patients in understanding their divine visions. Not all dreams were clear, and sometimes the gods spoke in riddles or symbols. These interpreters, often priest-physicians themselves, possessed specialized knowledge of mythology, symbolism, and divine communication, allowing them to decipher the cryptic messages and translate them into actionable medical advice. Imagine waking up from a dream and needing a specialist to tell you if the flying scarab meant you needed more fiber, or if a god was telling you to move to a new city. It certainly adds a layer of complexity to your morning coffee. The use of amulets and protective charms was also a significant part of the priest-physician's arsenal. These small objects, often inscribed with hieroglyphs or depicting protective deities, were believed to ward off evil and protect the wearer from illness. You might be given an amulet of the Eye of Horus for protection, or a scarab beetle charm for rebirth and healing. These were not just symbolic, they were active agents of protection. Imbued with magical power through ritual, the patient would often bring offerings to the temple, hoping to gain the god's favor and encourage a beneficial dream. These offerings could range from simple food items to more valuable objects, depending on the patient's wealth and the severity of their illness. The act of giving was believed to demonstrate devotion and commitment, thereby increasing the likelihood of divine intervention. The priest-physicians also had a deep understanding of the properties of various herbs and natural substances. They prepared ointments, poultices, and decoctions from plants, minerals, and even animal parts. These remedies were often potent, sometimes effective, and occasionally quite terrible in their taste or composition. However, even these physical remedies were often administered with an accompanying spell, reinforcing the belief that the magic enhanced the medicine. You might hear a patient recounting a dream to the priest-physician. "I saw a serpent bite my leg, and then a falcon flew down and carried it away." The interpreter might explain that the serpent represents the illness, and the falcon, a symbol of Horus, signifies divine protection and healing. The cure, therefore, might involve invoking Horus through spells and remedies, or perhaps a ritual to banish the serpent demon. The dream provided the narrative, guiding the course of treatment. You might see a priest-physician preparing a remedy for a snake bite. He would apply a poultice of herbs to the wound, but simultaneously recite a spell invoking the power of Ra, the sun god, or Horus, the falcon-headed god, to neutralize the venom and expel the evil associated with the snake. The words were as crucial as the herbs, believed to directly influence the outcome. The academic debate still rages. Kasna su hawk ban tran kailu, takdong chua ben kua su. Ben trong mokopay lado su kan tiep trak tiep kua tan lin hei chuyu. Lado hiu ongya duok vatak jong dam likuay, niemten vasutranan. Was the healing effect of dream incubation due to direct divine intervention, or primarily to the placebo effect and the psychological impact of belief and reassurance? The answer is nuanced, with proponents arguing for the genuine spiritual experience and skeptics highlighting the undeniable power of the mind-body connection and the psychological comfort derived from believing in a divine cure. The training of these priest-physicians was rigorous and extensive, often beginning in childhood within the temple schools. They would study anatomy often through observation of mummification and injuries, rather than systematic dissection, pharmacology, astronomy, mathematics, and, crucially, the vast corpus of religious and magical texts. It was a comprehensive education, preparing them to address both the physical and spiritual dimensions of illness. Sometimes, the dream itself was the cure. A patient might dream of a god touching them, or of a specific healing plant, and wake up feeling miraculously better. This direct divine intervention, a gift from the gods, was considered the most potent form of healing. For the ancient Egyptians, the boundary between the physical and the spiritual was fluid, and a divine touch in a dream could have very real, tangible effects on the waking body. You realize that the priest-physician was not just a medical professional, they were a spiritual guide, a guardian of health, and a mediator between the human and divine worlds. Their authority stemmed not just from their medical knowledge, but from their perceived connection to the gods and their mastery of sacred words. You might see patients, after their incubation period, leaving the temple with a renewed sense of hope, their faces reflecting a profound inner peace. Even if the physical symptoms hadn't completely vanished, the psychological burden of their illness would have been significantly lightened by the belief that they had received divine guidance or intervention. This profound sense of reassurance was a powerful component of the healing process. It's like getting a cosmic pep talk that actually works. The very act of being treated by a priest-physician within the sacred confines of a temple would have been immensely reassuring for a patient. The belief that powerful gods were on their side that malevolent spirits were being banished, and that their suffering had a divine explanation, would have provided immense psychological comfort and hope. This psychological impact, the ancient placebo effect, was undoubtedly a powerful component of the healing process. It's like having a doctor who also has a direct line to the universe's customer service department. The dreams could also reveal the cause of an illness. A dream about a specific animal might indicate that the patient had angered a deity associated with that animal. Or a dream about a particular location might point to a place where a curse had been laid. The dream was a diagnostic tool, offering insights that empirical observation alone could not provide. The academic debate still rages. Kach nasu hok van trankai lusuf hu thok vokach gileva buachukwakat. Taitui si e kapko lam chamsu pat trienqua. I hok tuk ngem hai chungchi jontuan la mot kiakan bosung trong mot hitongitetondian? Did the reliance on rituals and spells by Egyptian priest physicians hinder the development of empirical medicine? Or were they simply a complementary aspect within a comprehensive healthcare system that recognized the spiritual dimension of health? The answer is nuanced, with some arguing that the focus on supernatural causes could sometimes divert attention from purely physical solutions, while others emphasize the holistic nature of their approach. The role of the temple staff was crucial in facilitating dream incubation. They would ensure the patient's comfort, maintain the sanctity of the space, and assist in the interpretation of the dreams. Their presence and their commitment to the ritual reinforced the patient's belief in the process, enhancing the likelihood of a beneficial dream. You might observe the priest-physician performing a ritual of purification, perhaps washing the patient with sacred water or fumigating the room with incense to cleanse the body and spirit of any lingering impurities or malevolent influences. These rituals were not just symbolic. They were believed to have tangible effects on the patient's well-being. You realize that for the ancient Egyptians, the act of sleeping was not just a period of rest, it was an opportunity for profound spiritual engagement, a chance to commune with the divine and seek answers to life's most pressing questions, including those related to health. The dream world was as real and as significant as the waking world, and its messages held immense power. The legacy of these priest-physicians is profound. They laid the groundwork for many medical practices, from surgery to pharmacology, while also demonstrating the enduring human need to find meaning in illness and to seek solace in the divine. Their dual role reflects a worldview where the sacred and the mundane were inextricably linked, and where true healing encompassed both the seen and the unseen. The academic debate still rages. Kak nha su hok van tran kai liu su phobion. Qua vek u benjetrong moko van on su thiu hiu biet vei hok thuk nhiem. Het naughty John Thuan, la mot kiakanach bosung trong mot hitong itetuandian. Did the widespread practice of dream incubation reflect a lack of empirical medical knowledge? Or was it simply a complementary aspect within a comprehensive healthcare system that recognized the spiritual dimension of health? The answer is nuanced, suggesting that while it filled gaps in empirical understanding, it also provided a powerful psychological and spiritual avenue for healing. As you step out of the temple, the scent of myrrh still clinging to your clothes, you carry with you a deeper understanding of the unique role these priest-physicians played. Their ability to bridge the gap between the physical and the spiritual, to wield both remedies and sacred words, made them central figures in ancient Egyptian society, offering hope and healing in a world where spells truly could be the key to your recovery. You might see a priest-physician carefully recording a patient's dream, perhaps drawing symbols or writing down key phrases. These dream records, though rare, offer a fascinating glimpse into the ancient Egyptian psyche and their understanding of the subconscious mind. They reveal a belief that the inner world held profound truths that could guide their actions in the outer world. The lingering scent of myrrh from the temple still clings to your clothes, a subtle reminder of the priest-physicians and their dual role in ancient Egyptian healing. You've seen how illness was intertwined with the divine, how gods and demons were believed to influence health. Now, as your journey continues, you are about to delve into the very essence of ancient Egyptian magic, to understand why they believed that the mere utterance of words, the powerful recitation of a spell, could mend a broken body, banish a fever, or even bring someone back from the brink of death. This is the world where the spoken word held immense power, where a whisper could be a weapon, and a chant a cure. The very act of seeking a dream cure was a testament to the ancient Egyptians' deep faith and their holistic worldview. They understood that the body and spirit were inextricably linked, and that true healing often required addressing both the physical symptoms and the unseen forces that influenced them. The dream was the bridge between these two realms, a sacred pathway to recovery. You find yourself in a dimly lit chamber, perhaps a small, private room within a healer's dwelling, or a secluded corner of a temple. The air is still charged with an almost palpable energy. The healer, his eyes focused and intense, holds a small papyrus scroll in his hand, its surface covered in intricate hieroglyphs. He begins to speak, his voice a low, rhythmic murmur at first, then rising in intensity. Each word carefully articulated, each syllable imbued with profound meaning. This is not just talking, this is Heka, the ancient Egyptian word for magic, a divine force that could be harnessed by those who knew the secret words and rituals. As you step out of the quiet incubation chamber, the lingering sense of a profound slumber still clinging to you. You carry with you a deeper understanding of why ancient Egyptians thought spells could heal you. For them, healing was not just about physical remedies. It was about engaging with the divine in every possible way, even in the depths of sleep. The power of dreams, the guidance of gods, and the unwavering belief in their intervention were not just beliefs. They were active, potent tools in the relentless pursuit of health and harmony, a testament to a worldview where the sacred and the mundane were inextricably linked, and where a whispered vision from the night could indeed be your clearest path to recovery. A common historical fact is that Heka was considered a fundamental force of creation, a divine power that existed from the beginning of time. It was not seen as separate from the gods, but as an inherent part of their being, a force they used to create and maintain order in the cosmos. Humans, particularly priests and magicians, could access and wield Heka through specific words, gestures, and rituals. Therefore, a spell was not merely a wish or a prayer. It was an act of manipulating this divine power, a direct intervention in the fabric of reality. Imagine your words literally having the power to reshape the universe, even just a tiny corner of it, like your own ailing body. It certainly makes you think twice about what you say. The lingering sense of profound slumber from the incubation chamber still clings to you, a testament to the ancient Egyptians' belief in divine dreams. You've journeyed through the spiritual battles, the priest-physicians, the powerful spells, and the protective amulets. Now, as your odyssey through the terrible cures continues, you are about to step into the bizarre and often unsettling world of ancient Egyptian pharmacology, where the line between medicine and magic was not just blurred, but often completely erased, and where the ingredients for your cure could be truly spectacularly strange. You might observe the healer standing over a patient, perhaps a child suffering from a severe cough. He doesn't just offer an herbal remedy, he begins to recite a spell, his voice resonating with authority. The words might invoke the power of a specific deity, perhaps Shu, the god of air, to clear the child's lungs, or Taware, the hippopotamus goddess, protector of childbirth and children, to ward off evil. The spell might narrate a mythical event, such as Horus being cured of a scorpion sting by Isis, thereby transferring the healing power of that myth to the present patient. This was known as mythological precedent, where the reenactment of a divine healing story was believed to bring about a similar cure in reality. You find yourself in a bustling, pungent workshop, the air thick with a bewildering array of odors, sweet resins, acrid animal musk, dried herbs, and something else. Something distinctly unpleasant and organic. Before you, an apothecary, perhaps a skilled craftsman as much as a healer, meticulously grinds powders, stirs concoctions in clay pots, and sorts through baskets filled with the most improbable materials. This is where the wisdom of the papyri met the raw, often stomach-churning reality of ancient Egyptian remedies, where your path to healing might involve consuming something truly unforgettable. One particularly obscure detail about Egyptian spells is the use of reverse spells, or counter spells. If an illness was believed to be caused by a curse or a malevolent spell cast by an enemy, the healer would not only cast a healing spell, but also a counterspell designed to send the negative energy back to its origin or to neutralize its effects. These counterspells often contained aggressive language, directly addressing the malevolent force or the person who cast the original curse, commanding them to retreat. Imagine your doctor not only treating your illness, but also sending a magical return to sender message to whoever wished you ill. It's like a very ancient, very magical legal battle. A common historical fact is that ancient Egyptian medicine utilized a vast pharmacopoeia of ingredients, ranging from common herbs and minerals to various animal products and even human excretions. Their medical papyri list hundreds of remedies for a wide array of ailments, demonstrating a sophisticated, albeit empirical, understanding of natural substances. However, the rationale behind some of these ingredients was not always based on chemical properties, but often on sympathetic magic, symbolic associations, or a belief in their inherent divine or protective power. Imagine a pharmacy where the ingredients list includes things you'd normally only find in a very unhygienic barn. It certainly makes you appreciate modern regulations. The power of the spoken word was paramount. The Egyptians believed that words, especially those written in hieroglyphs or spoken with divine authority, held inherent power. To speak a name was to invoke its essence. To utter a command was to set forces in motion. Therefore, the precise pronunciation, the correct intonation, and the ritualistic repetition of a spell were crucial. A mispronounced word could render the magic inert, or worse, unleash unintended consequences. It's like trying to launch a rocket, but one wrong button press sends it straight into the ground. You might observe the apothecary carefully measuring out a quantity of honey, a universally valued ingredient for its antiseptic properties and its sweetness. Honey was used in countless remedies, from wound dressings to internal concoctions, and its efficacy is still recognized today. But then, he might add something else, something that makes your stomach churn, perhaps a pinch of dried crocodile dung? Yes, you heard that right. Crocodile dung. It was believed to have certain healing properties, perhaps due to its association with the powerful and divine crocodiles, or simply because it was readily available. It's like a very ancient, very literal form of eat your greens. But the greens are, well, you get the idea. One particularly obscure detail about these priest physicians is their specialization. While many were general practitioners, some specialized in specific ailments or body parts, much like modern doctors. For example, there were physicians of the eye, physicians of the teeth, or shepherds of the anus. Yes, really, they dealt with rectal issues. However, even these specialists would often incorporate magical and religious elements into their specific areas of practice. Believing that even a toothache could have a demonic origin, it's like having a very specialized dentist who also performs tiny exorcisms on your molars. One particularly obscure detail about ancient Egyptian remedies is the use of mouse droppings or rat feces for various ailments. These were often mixed with other ingredients in poultices or even ingested for conditions like toothaches or eye infections. The rationale might have been symbolic the mouse's quickness or fertility, or perhaps some unknown chemical property. But to our modern sensibilities, it's certainly a cure that would make you question your life choices. And I imagine being told your toothache cure involves rodent poop. It certainly makes you consider just letting the tooth fall out. You might see the healer performing specific gestures as he recites the spell. He might raise his hands to the sky, symbolizing an appeal to the heavens, or make sweeping motions to banish evil. He might even spit on the patient or on the ground, as saliva was believed to contain heka and could be used to transfer magical power or cleanse impurities. These gestures were not just performative. They were integral to the activation of the spell, directing the flow of magical energy. The use of animal parts was pervasive. You might see dried lizard tails, ground up bird bones, or even the blood of certain animals being incorporated into remedies. For instance, pig's teeth were used for pain relief, and ox liver was applied to the eyes for night blindness, a remedy that actually has some scientific basis due to the vitamin A content. However, other uses were purely magical. The blood of a specific animal might be used to transfer its strength or ferocity to the patient, or its organs believed to possess a unique healing essence. The academic debate still rages. Historians still debate whether the use of strange and disgusting ingredients in ancient Egyptian medicine reflects a lack of scientific understanding. Or was it part of a complex medical system whose mechanisms and cultural beliefs we do not yet fully comprehend? The answer is nuanced, acknowledging both the empirical observations that led to some effective remedies and the strong influence of magical thinking and symbolic associations. You might hear the apothecary explaining that for a persistent cough, a mixture of honey, herbs, and perhaps a small amount of lizard blood is needed. The blood, believed to carry the life force of the animal, would invigorate the patient and help expel the illness. The taste would be, well, memorable. It's a bit like a very ancient, very organic, and very unappetizing smoothie. The academic debate still rages. Keis na su hok van tran kai liungkui. Aikap ko jai ko tin vau hiu quatruk tiep qua bua. Chu trong viek te joy sing li ko de hei chung chu yu huat. Jong tong qua hiu ungia duok va sutran antamli. Did ancient Egyptians believe in the direct physiological alteration caused by spells? Or did they primarily function through the placebo effect and psychological reassurance? The answer is complex, with evidence suggesting a genuine belief in the spell's direct power. Alongside an understanding of the psychological impact of ritual and belief, the preparation of these remedies was often as intricate as their ingredients. Substances might be boiled, ground, fermented, or mixed with specific liquids like beer, wine, or milk. The precise measurements, the order of mixing, and the timing of preparation were all crucial, believed to influence the remedy's magical and medicinal potency. It was a form of ancient alchemy, transforming raw, often repulsive, materials into life-saving concoctions. The spells were often written on papyri, ostraca pottery shards, or linen bandages, and then placed on or near the patient, or even dissolved in water for the patient to drink. The belief was that the written word itself, imbued with Heka, could transfer its power to the patient. Imagine wearing a bandage with a spell written on it, knowing that every fiber of the linen is working to heal you. It's like a very ancient, very magical medical tattoo. For skin conditions, you might see poultices made from a mixture of herbs, minerals, and animal fat, sometimes even incorporating the ashes of burnt insects. These were applied directly to the affected area, believed to draw out toxins, reduce inflammation, or banish the demonic entity causing the skin eruption. The smell alone would be enough to make you want to avoid getting a rash. For example, a spell to heal a burn might be recited over a mixture of herbs and oil, which was then applied to the wound. The words of the spell would invoke the power of a cooling deity, or describe the fire being extinguished, thereby transferring that cooling and extinguishing power to the burn itself. The physical remedy and the magical words worked in concert, each enhancing the other. The use of human remains, while less common than animal products, was also documented. For instance, human brain matter was sometimes used in remedies for certain conditions, likely based on sympathetic magic or the belief that the essence of the deceased could transfer healing properties. Imagine a doctor telling you that the cure for your ailment involves a part of someone else's brain. It certainly adds a new layer to the term mind-bending. You might hear a spell that directly addresses the disease itself, personifying it as an enemy or a malevolent entity. The spell would then command the disease to leave the body, to retreat, to vanish. This direct confrontation with the illness, through the power of words, was a common strategy. It's like yelling at your cold to just pack its bags and leave. But with divine authority, you might observe the apothecary carefully handling a small jar containing dried and powdered human excrement, which was sometimes used for its perceived antiseptic or drawing properties, especially for wounds or infections. The rationale, again, was often empirical observation. Some waste products do have antibacterial properties, combined with a lack of understanding of hygiene and infection. It's a truly terrible cure, even if it sometimes worked by accident. The academic debate still rages. Historians still debate whether the willingness to use disgusting ingredients in ancient Egyptian medicine reflects a harsh pragmatism, or a lack of sensitivity to modern hygiene standards. The answer is complex, highlighting that while their practices were often effective, they operated within a very different cultural and scientific framework. The power of belief, as always, played a significant role. For a patient who truly believed in the efficacy of a remedy, no matter how strange its ingredients, the psychological impact could be profound. The feeling of actively doing something to combat the illness, combined with the reassuring presence of the healer, could undoubtedly contribute to their recovery, even if the ingredients themselves had little direct medicinal value. It's like being told that eating a spoonful of dirt will make you feel better, and then it actually does because you really, really believed it. The use of apotropaic magic was also common, where spells were used to ward off evil before it could cause illness. Amulets inscribed with protective spells or images of fierce deities were worn as preventative measures. Spells might be recited over thresholds or doorways to prevent malevolent spirits from entering a home. This proactive approach to health involved constantly maintaining a magical shield against unseen threats. You might hear stories of patients who, after consuming a particularly foul-tasting concoction, experienced a miraculous recovery. These anecdotal successes would reinforce the belief in the remedies, no matter how bizarre their components. The human mind is a powerful thing, capable of manifesting healing when hope is present. The effectiveness of spells, from the ancient Egyptian perspective, was not just about the words, but also about the purity and authority of the speaker. The priest-physician, having undergone rituals of purification and possessing sacred knowledge, was considered a conduit for Heka. Their connection to the divine realm made their words more potent, their commands more effective. The ethical considerations of using such ingredients were not present in the same way as they are today. The focus was on survival, on alleviating suffering, and on appeasing the gods. If a strange ingredient was believed to work, it was used, regardless of its origin or its taste. You realize that for the ancient Egyptians, the world was a dynamic tapestry of visible and invisible forces. Illness was a disruption of this cosmic order, and spells were the precise tools used to reestablish that order, to align the human body with the divine will, and to banish any malevolent influences. It was a sophisticated system of belief, where every word mattered, and every utterance had the potential to reshape reality. You realize that for the ancient Egyptians, the natural world was a vast pharmacy, and every creature, every plant, every substance held a potential key to healing. Their terrible cures were born from a deep, empirical observation of nature, combined with a rich tapestry of magical and religious beliefs. The strangeness of the ingredients was often a reflection of their desperate ingenuity, their willingness to experiment, and their profound faith in the power of the unseen. The academic debate still rages. Keishna su hakvan trankai liu su putwak vaubua, shu ko lam cham su fatrin kwai haktuk niem. O aikap ko jai he nochi jontwan la mot kiaken bo sung trong mot hetong ita tuan dien. Did the reliance on spells hinder the development of empirical medicine? Or was it simply a complementary aspect within a comprehensive healthcare system that recognized the spiritual dimension of health? The answer is nuanced, with some arguing that the focus on supernatural causes could sometimes divert attention from purely physical solutions, while others emphasize the holistic nature of their approach, where magic and medicine were inseparable. As you step out of the apothecary, the unsettling odors slowly fading from your senses, you carry with you a profound understanding of the lengths to which ancient Egyptians would go in their pursuit of health. The terrible cures, in this context, were not just unpleasant. They were a testament to a worldview where medicine and magic were inextricably linked, and where the most bizarre ingredients could, with the right spell and the right belief, indeed, be your path to healing. You might observe a patient, after a spell has been recited, showing signs of relief, perhaps a calming of their fever, or a lessening of their pain. This immediate psychological impact, the power of suggestion and belief, would have reinforced the efficacy of the spells for both the patient and the healer. The hope instilled by the ritual, the feeling of being actively protected by divine forces, could undoubtedly contribute to a patient's recovery. It's like a very powerful placebo, but with a lot more dramatic flair. The unsettling odors of the apothecary have faded, leaving behind a profound understanding of the bizarre ingredients ancient Egyptians used in their remedies. You've witnessed the spiritual battles, the priest-physicians, the powerful spells, the protective amulets, and the strange concoctions. Now, as your journey through the terrible cures continues, you are about to confront the most powerful, yet intangiblest force in ancient Egyptian healing, the sheer, unyielding power of belief. This is the realm where hope itself was a potent medicine, where the mind could influence the body, and where the ancient placebo effect was a phenomenon as real as any herb or incantation. The spells were often highly specific, tailored not just to the type of illness, but sometimes even to the part of the body affected. A spell for an eye ailment would invoke deities associated with sight, or refer to mythical events involving eye healing. This precision in magical practice mirrored the precision sought in their empirical medicine, demonstrating a systematic approach to both the seen and unseen aspects of healing. You find yourself in a quiet, almost sacred space, perhaps a patient's bedside, where the air hums not with the scent of remedies, but with an unspoken expectation. The healer stands by, his presence reassuring, his voice calm. The patient, perhaps weak from illness, looks at him with eyes full of hope. This isn't about the physical properties of a drug or the precise placement of a needle. It's about the profound connection between the mind and the body. A connection understood intuitively by the ancient Egyptians, long before modern science gave it a name. The very act of writing a spell was also believed to imbue it with power. Hieroglyphs themselves were considered sacred, imbued with the essence of the words they represented. Therefore, a spell written on a tomb wall or an amulet was believed to be eternally active, constantly radiating its protective or healing energy. This permanence of the written word added another layer to the power of spells. A common historical fact is that the placebo effect, where a patient experiences a real improvement in symptoms due to their belief in a treatment, even if the treatment itself has no active medicinal properties, has been observed across cultures and throughout history. In ancient Egypt, where the line between medicine and magic was fluid, the power of belief was not a side effect. It was an integral and often celebrated component of the healing process. Imagine taking a sugar pill and genuinely feeling better because you truly believe it's a miracle cure. It's like your brain is its own personal pharmacy, and it's always stocked with optimism. As you step out of the healer's chamber, the rhythmic echoes of the spell still resonating in your mind, you carry with you a profound understanding of why ancient Egyptians thought spells could heal you. For them, it wasn't a choice between medicine and magic. It was an integration, a recognition that the universe was alive with forces that could both cause and cure illness. The power of words, the invocation of gods, and the banishment of demons were not just beliefs. They were active, potent tools in their relentless pursuit of health and harmony. A testament to a worldview where the sacred and the mundane were inextricably linked. You might observe a patient, suffering from chronic pain, being given a remedy made from seemingly inert ingredients, perhaps a simple mixture of water and a common herb, with no known medicinal properties for pain. Yet, after consuming it, the patient reports a significant reduction in their discomfort. Why? Because the remedy was administered by a respected priest-physician, accompanied by a powerful spell invoking a healing deity, and performed within a sacred ritual. The entire context imbued the medicine with immense psychological power, activating the body's own healing mechanisms. The rhythmic echoes of the spell still resonate in your mind, a testament to the profound power the ancient Egyptians attributed to the spoken word. You've witnessed how Heka, the divine magic, was woven into the very fabric of their healing practices. Now, as your journey through the terrible cures continues, you are about to encounter the tangible manifestations of this magic, the amulets, charms, and talismans. Small objects imbued with immense power, worn or placed to ward off illness and invite the blessings of the gods. This is the world where a tiny piece of stone or metal could be your most potent protector, a silent guardian against unseen threats. One particularly obscure detail about the ancient Egyptian understanding of belief and healing is the concept of divine presence, or K life force being transferred through objects or rituals. When a priest-physician performed a ritual or administered a remedy, it wasn't just the physical action, it was the belief that the K of the deity or the healer himself was being channeled into the patient, actively participating in the healing process. This made the healer not just a dispenser of medicine, but a living conduit of divine power, further amplifying the patient's belief. Imagine your doctor literally radiating healing energy. It certainly adds a new dimension to bedside manner. You find yourself in a bustling market, the air filled with the cries of vendors, the scent of spices, and the glint of sunlight on countless trinkets. Among the pottery and textiles, you notice stalls laden with an array of small, intricately carved objects, scarab beetles, the Eye of Horus, Ankh symbols, tiny figures of gods and goddesses. These are not merely decorative items, they are amulets. And for the ancient Egyptians, they were vital tools in the ongoing battle for health and well-being. Every single one, a tiny fortress against the forces of chaos. The patient's faith in the healer was paramount. In a world where illness was often mysterious and terrifying, the physician or priest offered a sense of control, a promise of intervention. Their authority, their knowledge of sacred texts, their connection to the gods, all contributed to the patient's unwavering belief that they were in capable hands, and that healing was possible. This trust itself was a powerful therapeutic agent, calming anxiety and fostering a hopeful mindset. A common historical fact is that amulets were widely used in ancient Egypt, both by the living and the dead, for protection, good fortune, and healing. They were believed to derive their power from their shape, material, color, or the deities they represented. Worn as jewelry, incorporated into clothing, or even placed within mummy wrappings. These objects served as constant magical shields, warding off evil spirits, curses, and diseases. Imagine wearing your lucky charm, but instead of just bringing good luck, it's actively fighting off a stomach bug. It certainly makes your keychain feel a little less impressive. You might hear a story of a patient who, after being diagnosed with a severe illness and given up by others, sought out a renowned priest-physician. The physician, instead of a complex remedy, might have simply performed an elaborate purification ritual, recited a long, intricate spell, and given the patient a simple, blessed amulet. The patient, filled with renewed hope and conviction, then experienced a remarkable recovery. These anecdotal successes, while perhaps not scientifically verifiable by modern standards, were powerful evidence for the ancient Egyptians of the efficacy of their methods, especially the power of belief. It's like believing your lucky socks help you win the lottery, and then you actually win. Coincidence or cosmic fashion statement? You might observe a mother carefully tying a small amulet depicting the goddess Tolweret, the hippopotamus goddess, around her child's neck. Tolweret, with her fierce yet protective demeanor, was a popular deity invoked during childbirth and for the protection of children. The amulet was believed to transfer her protective power to the child, safeguarding them from illness and harm. It's a tangible expression of a parent's love and their desperate hope for their child's health in a world full of unseen dangers. The academic debate still rages. Kas na su hok vantran kai liu su than kong, qua mot so fuong pap chua bene. I kap ko jai ko faila du hiu, u ungia duok marme vaniam tin van hua. Sau sak heido kas. Coaches in hok chua juok hiu ro qua kak, thanafan vangili. Were the successes of some ancient Egyptian healing methods primarily due to a strong placebo effect and deep cultural belief? Or were there also poorly understood biological mechanisms at play in their ingredients and rituals? The answer is complex, acknowledging that both factors likely contributed, with belief acting as a powerful amplifier for any genuine medicinal properties. One particularly obscure detail about Egyptian amulets is the use of finger amulets or digit amulets. These were small, often green, amulets shaped like a human finger, typically made of faience or stone. They were placed within mummy wrappings, specifically near the fingers, to ensure the deceased retained their dexterity and ability to interact in the afterlife. While primarily funerary, their presence highlights the Egyptian belief that even specific body parts needed magical protection and integrity, a concept that could extend to healing the living. Imagine a tiny, magical prosthetic finger, just in case your afterlife needs some serious pointing. The psychological impact of ritual was immense. The elaborate ceremonies, the chanting, the burning incense, the presence of sacred objects, all these elements created a profound sensory experience that would have deeply impressed the patient. This immersive environment, designed to connect the human to the divine, would have instilled a powerful sense of reassurance and hope, reducing stress and anxiety, which are known to negatively impact the immune system and overall health. It's like a very ancient, very spiritual, immersive therapy session. The Eye of Horus, or Wedjat Eye, is perhaps the most iconic and commonly found amulet. You see it everywhere carved into stone, painted on walls, and worn by almost everyone. This symbol represented protection, royal power, and good health, derived from the myth of Horus losing his eye in battle with Set and having it magically restored by Thoth. Wearing the Eye of Horus amulet was believed to transfer this restorative and protective power to the wearer, guarding against illness and injury. It was the ultimate all-seeing, all-protecting charm, like a tiny, ancient security camera for your soul. You might observe a patient, initially filled with despair, gradually regaining their strength and vitality as they participate in the healing rituals. Their posture straightens, their eyes regain their luster, and their voice becomes stronger. This visible transformation, even before any physical remedy has had time to take full effect, is a testament to the mind's profound influence over the body. The material of the amulet was often as important as its shape. Green stones, like malachite or green jasper, were associated with new life, regeneration, and health, and were frequently used for healing amulets. Red stones, like carnelian, were believed to offer protection against evil, while blue faience, a common Egyptian material, symbolized fertility and rebirth. The inherent properties of the material were believed to enhance the magical power of the amulet. The very act of seeking a cure, of actively engaging in the healing process, was empowering. For patients who felt helpless in the face of illness, the rituals and spells provided a sense of agency, a feeling that they were actively participating in their own recovery, rather than passively waiting for fate. This active participation could foster a sense of control and optimism, both crucial for healing. You might see a priest-physician, after diagnosing an illness, not only prescribing an herbal remedy, but also providing a specific amulet to be worn. For a patient suffering from a heart ailment, an amulet in the shape of a heart, or a scarab beetle which symbolized the heart in some contexts, might be recommended. The amulet would be consecrated with spells and rituals, further imbuing it with healing power. The physical object became a conduit for divine intervention. The ethical considerations of using seemingly inert or even bizarre ingredients were not present in the same way as they are today, because the belief in their efficacy was genuine. If a remedy, no matter how strange, was believed to work, and if the patient believed in it, then it was considered a valid and ethical treatment. The focus was on the outcome, the patient's recovery, rather than the chemical composition of the ingredients. The academic debate still rages. Katin ha su hawk vantran kailio buahomen. Ko tuk su jok ngoi. Aikap ko jaitin lako suk manchua bentruk tiep haichung. Chu yu jong by thrown hu. Motvat pemtran ontam liva bio tuong kwa subao vetiengling. Did ancient Egyptians truly believe amulets possessed direct healing power? Or did they primarily serve as psychological reassurance and symbols of divine protection? The answer is complex, with evidence suggesting a genuine belief in their active magical properties. Alongside their undeniable psychological impact, you realize that for the ancient Egyptians, the human mind was not just a recipient of illness, it was an active participant in healing. The power of belief, the unwavering faith in the gods, the trust in the healer, and the profound psychological impact of ritual were all potent medicines, capable of influencing the body's ability to recover. The terrible cures in this context were not just about the physical substances. They were about the profound alchemy of hope and conviction, beyond simple amulets. More elaborate charms and magical objects were also used. For instance, a magical brick inscribed with protective spells might be placed in the walls of a house to ward off illness from the inhabitants. Or a healing statue of a god, often with water poured over it to absorb its magical properties, would then have that water drunk by the patient. These were larger, more complex applications of sympathetic magic and the power of divine presence. The academic debate still rages. Kats nhasu hok vantran kaeliu sunhan, man vau niemtin vatn gilekolam. Lumosu fada trien kwa kats puong, fab jiutri duatran bang chung tuknhiem. Hey chung chi jontuan. Lamot kia kan bo songtrong, mot hathong, ite toan dien. Did the emphasis on belief and ritual overshadow the development of empirically based treatments? Or were they simply a complementary aspect within a comprehensive healthcare system that recognized the profound power of the mind-body connection? The answer is nuanced, suggesting that while empirical observation was present, it was always framed within a deeply spiritual worldview. You might hear a story of someone who recovered from a severe illness after wearing a newly consecrated amulet, their belief in its power undoubtedly contributing to their recovery. This immediate psychological impact, the feeling of being protected and cared for by the gods, would have been immensely powerful in a world where medical understanding was limited and life was often precarious. It's like getting a security blanket that also has a direct line to the divine. You might hear a priest-physician advising a patient not just on their physical remedies, but also on their emotional state, encouraging them to maintain a positive outlook and to trust in the gods. This recognition of the mind-body connection, even if not articulated in modern scientific terms, was a fundamental aspect of their healing philosophy. It's like your ancient Egyptian doctor was also a very early life coach. But with more emphasis on appeasing deities, the creation of amulets was often a specialized craft, performed by skilled artisans who might also be priests or magicians. They understood the precise forms, materials, and rituals necessary to imbue the objects with Heka. The process was not just about carving, it was about channeling divine energy into the physical form, making the amulet a living vessel of magical power. The anecdotal evidence of miraculous recoveries, passed down through generations, served to reinforce this belief in the power of faith. These stories, whether embellished over time or genuinely transformative, became part of the cultural narrative, inspiring hope and encouraging others to seek similar treatments. The use of fertility amulets, often depicting figures like the dwarf god Bez or the goddess Taweret, was also common, especially for women hoping to conceive or have a safe childbirth. These amulets were believed to promote fertility, protect the mother and child during labor, and ward off any evil spirits that might try to harm them. They were a testament to the deep anxieties surrounding reproduction and the desperate need for divine intervention in such a critical life event. As you step away from this profound glimpse into the power of belief, you carry with you a deeper understanding of why ancient Egyptians thought spells could heal you. For them, it was not just about the physical, it was about the spiritual, the psychological, and the profound, often mysterious, connection between the mind and the body. The terrible cures, in this context, were not just unpleasant. They were a testament to the enduring power of hope, the unwavering strength of conviction, and the ancient, timeless truth that sometimes the most potent medicine lies within yourself. You realize that for the ancient Egyptians, amulets were not just passive objects. They were active participants in the healing process, constantly radiating protective energy, drawing in divine favor and repelling malevolent forces. They were a tangible link to the spiritual world, a constant reminder that health was a gift from the gods, and that illness was often a battle against unseen enemies. The profound sense of hope and conviction, born from the sheer power of belief, still resonates within you. You've journeyed through the intricate tapestry of ancient Egyptian healing, witnessing the spiritual battles, the priest-physicians, the powerful spells, the protective amulets, the bizarre remedies, and the undeniable influence of the mind over the body. Now, as our odyssey through the terrible cures reaches its final chapter, you are left to ponder the enduring legacy of this ancient medical system, how its echoes still resonate in the present, and what lessons we can draw from a past so vastly different from our own. The academic debate still rages. Kasna su hok van trankai liu su phobian kua bua homen. O e kap ko jai ko van arne su thiutin tuang vau I hok tukonghium. Heid lamot bu hien kua mot the gioi konton dia noima thuet, va I hok la hong the tach roy. Did the widespread use of amulets reflect a lack of trust in empirical medicine? Or was it an expression of a comprehensive worldview where magic and medicine were inseparable, each complementing the other in the pursuit of health? The answer is nuanced, suggesting that both aspects were at play, with magic filling the gaps where empirical knowledge was insufficient. Imagine standing at the edge of the vast Egyptian desert, looking back at the towering pyramids and the shimmering Nile, a civilization that spanned millennia. Below, you see the bustling cities, the tranquil villages, the winding rivers, and the endless fields. And woven into the very fabric of this landscape is the enduring influence of ancient Egyptian medicine. It's not just a historical curiosity, it's a living tradition, a testament to humanity's persistent quest for health and harmony. A quest that began with those terrible, yet often ingenious cures. You might observe a person after a long day, carefully placing their amulets on a small shrine, or cleaning them with sacred oil, reaffirming their connection to the divine power within the objects. This daily ritual of care and reverence was part of maintaining the amulet's efficacy and ensuring continuous protection. A common historical fact is that the medical knowledge of ancient Egypt, particularly its practical aspects like surgery, pharmacology, and anatomy had a significant influence on later civilizations. Greek and Roman physicians, including figures like Hippocrates and Galen, studied and incorporated elements of Egyptian medicine into their own practices. The famous medical schools of Alexandria, founded during the Hellenistic period, continued to build upon the foundations laid by their Egyptian predecessors. Imagine a Greek scholar, perhaps sketching anatomical diagrams, referencing texts that were originally written in hieroglyphs. It's a testament to the enduring power of knowledge, even across vast cultural divides. The legacy of these amulets continues to fascinate us today. While we no longer believe in their direct magical power, their aesthetic beauty and symbolic resonance endure. They remind us of a time when the world was alive with magic, and when every object, however small, could be imbued with profound meaning and protective power. You might hear a modern conversation about holistic health or the mind-body connection, phrases that, while often used casually today, have deep roots in the ancient Egyptian understanding of the human being. Their belief that illness was a disruption of cosmic order, affecting both the physical body and the spiritual essence, encouraged a comprehensive approach to healing. This ancient wisdom, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all things, continues to influence contemporary wellness philosophies and complementary medicine, proving that some ideas are truly timeless. It's like a very old, very wise philosophical whisper that keeps getting louder, even after thousands of years. As you step away from the bustling market, the glint of the amulet still catching your eye, you carry with you a profound understanding of why ancient Egyptians thought these small objects could heal you. For them, they were not just trinkets, they were sacred tools, tangible conduits of divine power, offering hope, protection, and a constant connection to the benevolent forces that governed their world. A world where a tiny charm could be your greatest defense against the terrible grip of disease. One particularly obscure detail about the legacy of ancient Egyptian medicine is the role of medical mummies, or anatomical mummies. While not a widespread practice, some evidence suggests that in later periods, particularly during the Ptolemaic era when Greek influence was stronger, mummified bodies were occasionally used for anatomical study, allowing physicians to gain a deeper understanding of internal organs and structures. This practice, though rare, highlights a pragmatic approach to anatomical knowledge that went beyond simple external observation, pushing the boundaries of their understanding. Imagine a very ancient, very well-preserved anatomy lesson. It certainly makes modern cadaver labs seem a little less unique. The glint of amulets from the bustling market still catches your eye, a tangible reminder of the protective magic woven into ancient Egyptian life. You've seen how spells and charms were believed to heal, how priest-physicians bridged the gap between the physical and the divine. Now, as your journey through the terrible cures continues, you're about to confront the very entities that were believed to cause illness, the gods and goddesses, both benevolent and terrifying, and the malevolent demons and spirits that lurked in the shadows. This is the world where your sickness might be a divine punishment, or a demonic attack, and your cure a desperate plea to the heavens or a fierce battle against the underworld. The academic debate still rages. Historians still debate whether the integration of magic and empirical medicine in ancient Egypt ultimately hindered or accelerated the development of a purely scientific medical tradition. Did the deep reliance on spells and divine intervention slow down the progress of empirical, evidence-based medicine? Or was it a necessary stage, providing a framework for understanding and intervention in a world without modern scientific tools? The answer is complex, with some arguing that the supernatural explanations could sometimes divert attention from purely physical causes, while others emphasize that the magical framework provided psychological comfort and a powerful placebo effect, which were crucial for healing in that era. You find yourself in a dimly lit chamber, perhaps a private shrine within a home, or a secluded corner of a temple, where the air is heavy with the scent of offerings and the murmur of prayers. Before you stands a small altar, adorned with images of various deities. The healer, his face solemn, gestures towards these images, explaining the complex web of divine and demonic influences that could bring about sickness. For the ancient Egyptians, the pantheon was not just a collection of stories, it was an active force in their daily lives, directly impacting their health and well-being. You might see modern archaeologists and Egyptologists meticulously studying ancient papyri, deciphering the hieroglyphs, and translating the medical texts. Each newly discovered fragment, each carefully interpreted word, offers a fresh glimpse into the minds of ancient healers, revealing their ingenuity, their limitations, and their profound dedication to alleviating suffering. These ancient documents, once hidden in tombs and temple ruins, are now speaking across millennia, offering invaluable insights into the history of medicine. It's like being a detective, but the clues are thousands of years old and written in a secret code. A common historical fact is that many Egyptian gods and goddesses had specific associations with health, healing, or disease. Sekhmet, the lioness goddess, for instance, was particularly feared as a bringer of plagues and epidemics, but also revered as a powerful healer who could ward off disease. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of knowledge, writing, and magic, was often invoked for his wisdom in diagnosis and his power to restore health through spells. Imagine a god who could both give you the flu and then cure it, depending on their mood. It certainly makes you think twice about complaining. The emphasis on cleanliness and hygiene, though rudimentary by modern standards, was also a significant part of their legacy. The daily ablutions, the use of clean linen, and the awareness of contaminated water sources, even if the underlying germ theory was unknown, contributed to public health practices that were advanced for their time. While they couldn't stop plagues, their efforts at personal and environmental cleanliness undoubtedly helped mitigate the spread of some diseases, a practical wisdom that still holds true today. You might observe a patient suffering from a severe fever, and the healer explains that this is likely the wrath of Sekhmet, perhaps angered by a transgression or a lapse in offerings. The cure would involve not just physical remedies, but elaborate rituals to appease the goddess' prayers, offerings of food and drink, and perhaps even a procession to her temple. The belief was that once the divine anger was assuaged, the illness would recede. It's like trying to get rid of a really bad headache by sending flowers to your grumpy boss. The very concept of a physician as a respected professional, distinct from a general healer, also has roots in ancient Egypt. Their specialized roles, their rigorous training within temple schools, and their access to vast medical libraries contributed to the professionalization of medicine, setting a precedent for future medical systems. The image of the wise, learned physician, skilled in both practical remedies and sacred knowledge, is an archetype that continues to resonate. One particularly obscure detail is the concept of demons of the underworld, or Akka ghosts of the unburied dead who could cause specific ailments. These weren't just abstract concepts. They were believed to be tangible entities that could enter the body and inflict suffering. For example, a demon might be blamed for a persistent cough, a localized pain, or even mental disturbances. The spells used to combat these demons often directly address them, commanding them to leave the body, sometimes threatening them with divine punishment if they refused. Imagine your doctor yelling at an invisible entity inside you to get out. It certainly adds a dramatic flair to the consultation. You might hear a modern doctor discussing the importance of patient trust and the power of a positive mindset in recovery. These concepts, central to the ancient Egyptian approach to healing through belief and ritual, are increasingly recognized in contemporary medicine. The understanding that healing is not just a biological process, but also a psychological and emotional one, is a timeless truth that the ancient Egyptians deeply understood. It's like your modern therapist is channeling a little bit of ancient Egyptian wisdom. Without the crocodile dung, the god Seth, associated with chaos and storms and disorder, was often linked to illnesses caused by violence, injury, or chaotic forces. Conversely, Osiris, the god of the afterlife and rebirth, was sometimes invoked for healing and resurrection, particularly in cases of severe illness or near-death experiences. The specific deity invoked depended on the nature of the illness and its perceived origin. The anecdotal evidence of miraculous recoveries, passed down through generations and recorded in ancient texts, served to reinforce the belief in the efficacy of their methods. These stories, whether embellished over time or genuinely transformative, became part of the cultural narrative, inspiring hope and encouraging others to seek similar treatments. The human need for stories of healing, for narratives of triumph over illness, is a powerful and enduring aspect of our shared humanity. The academic debate still rages. Sachna su hokvan trankai lubiek ganben. Tat chokach bitan vakwidu kokan trosu patrinkwa. I hok tuken hiem henochi jon tuan la motkach jigetik nhangjiu kong de getik. Juok trongboy kanaken tuk hoa hok hanche. Did attributing illness to gods and demons hinder the development of empirical medicine? Or was it simply a way to explain the unexplainable in a context of limited scientific knowledge, providing psychological comfort and a framework for intervention? The answer is nuanced, acknowledging both the limitations imposed by supernatural explanations and the very real psychological and social functions these beliefs served. The academic debate still rages. Historians still debate whether the practical medical achievements of ancient Egypt, such as their surgical skills and herbal remedies, were truly advanced for their time, or if their reputation has been exaggerated by later classical writers. Were their medical practices genuinely sophisticated, or were they simply seen as such by cultures with even less developed medical knowledge? The answer is nuanced. Acknowledging both their impressive practical skills, especially in trauma and dentistry, and the limitations imposed by their scientific understanding compared to modern medicine, you might hear a story of a child suffering from a mysterious illness, and the healer determines it's the result of a curse placed by an enemy, perhaps invoking the malevolent power of a specific demon. The cure would then involve not just treating the child, but also performing a counter-curse ritual to neutralize the malevolent magic and protect the child from future harm. The battle was fought on two fronts, the physical and the magical. You might consider the enduring fascination with ancient Egypt itself. The pyramids, the pharaohs, the mummies, the hieroglyphs, all speak to a civilization that grappled with the fundamental questions of life, death, and health in profound and unique ways. Their approach to healing, with its blend of the empirical and the magical, offers a window into a worldview that saw the divine in every aspect of existence, including the human body. The role of dreams was also crucial in identifying the divine or demonic cause of an illness. If a patient had a dream about a specific god, an animal, or a frightening figure, the healer would interpret this as a message, revealing the source of their suffering. Dreams were seen as a direct conduit to the spirit world, offering clues that were otherwise hidden. It's like your subconscious was also a very cryptic medical messenger, sending you divine text messages. The legacy of the terrible cures is not just about the bizarre ingredients or the seemingly strange rituals. It's about the universal human desire to alleviate suffering, to understand the mysteries of illness, and to find hope in the face of the unknown. The ancient Egyptians, with their profound faith and their ingenious, if sometimes unsettling methods, remind us that the path to healing has always been a complex and multifaceted journey. The Egyptians also believed in the concept of Ach, the transfigured spirit of a deceased person, which could sometimes become malevolent if not properly cared for in the afterlife. If an illness was attributed to a restless Ach, rituals would be performed to appease the spirit, offering food and drink, and ensuring their proper remembrance. This highlights the deep connection between the living and the dead, and how the well-being of one could impact the other. As you step away from this long journey through ancient Egypt, the distant echoes of their spells and the faint scent of their remedies fading into the desert air, you carry with you a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity, the resilience, and the enduring wisdom of its healers. Their terrible cures, often born of necessity and limited knowledge, laid the groundwork for a medical tradition that continues to fascinate and influence us today, a testament to humanity's timeless pursuit of health and harmony. The echoes of their wisdom, both the profound and the perilous, still resonate today, inviting us to reflect on our own understanding of healing and the intricate dance between body, mind, and spirit. And now, as the stories of the past have subsided, let the images slowly fade into the night. Take a deep breath, feel the warm blanket envelop you, and let your mind drift gently. The echoes of ancient Egypt, the strange spells and healing attempts, are now just gentle waves of memory. You have traveled through a harsh time, but now it is time to return to the peace of the present. Let your worries fade, your tensions ease, and feel the silence envelop you. The night has fallen, bringing with it rest. Close your eyes and let sleep gently carry you away into a world of sweet dreams, where all worries fade away. You might see the healer performing a ritual to purify the patient, perhaps washing them with sacred water infused with protective herbs, or fumigating the room with incense to drive out any lingering evil influences. These rituals were not just symbolic, they were believed to have tangible effects on the patient's spiritual and physical well-being. Cleansing them of malevolent energies, the spells associated with these divine and demonic entities were highly specific. A spell to invoke Sekhmet for healing would be different from a spell to banish a demon causing a fever. The language, the invocations, and the specific rituals would be tailored to the entity being addressed, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of the spiritual hierarchy and its influence on human health. The academic debate still rages. Kasenha su hok van trankai liu sufutok, vau niem tin vo tan linva quidukolam cham sufat, trien kwai hok, thuk nghiem o aikap ko jai, hai nochi jon tuan lamot kiakan bosung trongmot, he thong eta tuan dien. Did the reliance on beliefs in gods and demons hinder the development of empirical medicine? Or was it simply a complementary aspect within a comprehensive healthcare system that recognized the spiritual dimension of health? The answer is nuanced, with some arguing that the focus on supernatural causes could sometimes divert attention from purely physical solutions, while others emphasize the holistic nature of their approach. Where magic and medicine were inseparable, the Ankh, the symbol of life, was another powerful amulet. Wearing an Ankh was believed to promote vitality, ensure a long life, and protect against death and disease. It was a constant reminder of the preciousness of life and the divine forces that sustained it. You might see it carved into the walls of tombs, held by gods in depictions, and worn by pharaohs and commoners alike. You might observe a patient, after a long and arduous ritual to appease an angry god or banish a persistent demon, showing signs of relief, perhaps a reduction in their fever or a calming of their agitation. This immediate psychological impact, the feeling of being actively protected by divine forces, would have been immensely powerful in a world where medical understanding was limited and life was often precarious. It's like getting a divine security clearance for your health. You find yourself standing on the banks of the Nile, the lifeblood of ancient Egypt, its waters shimmering under the relentless sun. The year is, let's say, 1500 BC. You feel a sudden ache in your stomach, a familiar cramp starting to brew. In your world, a quick trip to the doctor might lead to a diagnosis of indigestion or a minor infection. Here, your stomach ache is not just a stomach ache. It's a sign, a whisper from the unseen world that something is profoundly wrong, perhaps even malevolent.